ми з вами досі перебуваємо на Games Gathering 2019. У кріслі поруч зі мною вже знаходились дизайнери, художники, локалізатори, кого тільки не було. І нарешті опинився справжній актор озвучення.
I'm a straightforward kind of guy, so I'm just gonna put it out there.
Okay.
I'm looking to have a good time tonight. You know what I mean?
No.
Майк Боді – людина, яку ви, напевно, чули, якщо ви грали в оригіналі Дивізію 2 або Wolfenstein New Colossus.
Okay, answer this one. Would you rather know when you're going to die or how you're going to die? Come on, you have to choose one. I just want to get out of this fucking rain. Who told you to stop digging?
So, hello Mike, how are you doing?
I'm good, you?
Same, so it's really nice to have you here. So what's your opinion on this event? Do you often get invited to events such like these?
Yes, well, I would probably say more accepted, if you will. So I often give talks at events, and so I will have to...
because of...
Yeah, of course. So I'll often give talks. So I'll often give talks at events. I'll have to apply to talk. And if somebody at the conference says, "Hey, this sounds interesting," then I'll come and talk. So in essence, yes, I'm invited to come do talks after I submit my application. It's great to be at GGC. It's my first time in Kiev. I'm having a lovely time. It reminds me, I've spent a number of years at Gamescom, and I'm getting a really lovely feeling from this as well. I was at GDS in Prague last week, and I was at DevGam Minsk the week before. So I'm spending
Quite
a lot
a tour,
of
yeah.
So I'm doing kind of a CES tour at the moment, which is great. But yeah, no, it's great to be here. But the talk I gave this afternoon, was really well received, which was nice. It's gone through a number of kind of changes just to kind of gauge what the audience needs, what the developer needs. I might mention some things which may not be that useful, so I've taken those out. Just go, look, let's just keep it the most useful things as fast as possible.
Okay, how many business cards have you received after your speech?
So far, 3. Just by people going, hey, it was nice to talk. No, 4, sorry. I then had a meeting with somebody through a meeting app that GGC uses. But it's a nice feeling when I have to go and reorder cards. When they go, crap, I'm all out of business cards, I need to reorder some. But then I often have to pay for the fast shipping because it's like, oh crap, I've only found out I've got like 10 left. I need another 100 for the next couple of months. But yeah.
Well, still, how does a person understand that, hey, I should probably try myself at voice acting?
So I trained as an actor. I went to a school called Lambda, which is the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, and I trained. It's a classical acting school, so I trained for stage and for screen. And when I graduated, not every actor gets picked up by a huge agent and then goes and starts working on Game of Thrones. So I was very fortunate to get to do some stage work and some screen and some film work afterwards. But I kind of got tired of. I worked as my school's janitor. I worked in various administrative departments. I worked as a chef. I worked as a garbage man. I worked as a carpenter. I worked as a furniture mover. Name any sort of manual labor, not so glamorous job, I've probably done it. But I got tired of doing it because I realized I'm a grown-ass man. I'm a trained actor. I went to arguably one of the top drama schools in the world, which I applied for a number of years to get in because it's tough to get into. I want to be doing something that's related to my job. So I thought, I've always loved games. I've been playing games since I could speak. I still have my Game Boy Classic, the gray plastic one, and it still works. And I think my Pokemon Red team still exists on the red cartridge. And so I got tired of doing a job that wasn't related to acting, so I thought, you know what, I love games, I want to get into voiceover and motion capture. These days I'm finding a lot of success with voiceover, I'm starting to find more success with motion capture as time goes on. But I'm here at GGC focusing on voice acting in games. And so I got additional voice training coming from my acting background. I thought that because I was a trained actor for stage and film, that I could waltz into a booth and I could just knock the socks off everybody with an amazing performance. Then I realized that I actually don't know how to work a microphone as well as a voice actor who works in voice acting all the time. So I had to learn how a microphone works and be able to perform for it. I couldn't just sort of flail my arms around and hope that it's going to give a great performance. It was something I needed specific training in.
Let her go, God bless her. Wherever she may be, she can look this wide world right over, but she'll never find a sweet man. Oh yeah, she'll never find a sweet man. Oh yeah, she'll never find a sweet man like me.
And so I knew that I wanted to work in games, so over time I slowly created more contacts, started auditioning for more companies, started getting some work, and then used that work to get other work, so on and so forth. And particularly in games, work begets work. If I say that I've worked in these projects, and they're big stuff like Wolfenstein 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, The Division 2, for some reason a lot of sequels, somebody then goes, oh, these companies have said that you seem to be all right at your job because they keep hiring you. Maybe it would be something, it would be useful for us if we hired you. Which is no different than saying, let's say you work in finance and you worked at Goldman Sachs, a big private bank, and you want to go work for JP Morgan. They'll probably go, oh great, you've worked for one of our competitors at a very high level. It's probably going to be really useful. So, like I said, I wanted to get into voice acting for games because for me, voice acting for games is the closest thing in voiceover that's stage and screen. As far as the level of creative and emotional output that I as an actor have to create, I find that in games. I don't find that in doing corporate voiceover or commercial voiceover. Not that I have a problem with either of those. Happy to do them. I enjoy doing them. They pay well, so may more of that work come. But for me as a creative individual, I feel I have more control over my career as a voice actor, and I still get to flex the acting muscle by working in voiceover for games, while hopefully work for stage and screen comes along, because that tends to be infrequent. Whereas I can work in 3-4 games in a week because I'm recording a couple hours on each one, and then I've done my part, and that's that. Yeah.
Well, actually, in the pipeline of making a game, how early, at what stage do you usually have voice acting?
Probably near the end. As with a lot of things, particularly audio-based, voice actors and particularly audio in general tends to get dropped in right at the last minute of production. And what I like to advocate is having actors brought in about midway through, or not quite close to the end, but maybe just after midway through, because having your text and your dialogue, being able to throw that at an actor and see what they do with it and how they perform it might lead the narrative design team down a route that they didn't expect. Because it's very common to get scripts which have been written to be read and not written to be spoken. It's like what Harrison Ford said to George Lucas about Star Wars script. He said, George, you can write this shit, pardon my language, but you can't say it. And this is true. Why it's like reading for audiobooks is a really tough skill, because you're taking a piece of text that's meant to be experienced in silence and then speaking. And a lot of game dialogues are written in silence, and then you put an actor to it and you start speaking it and you go, you know what, that line doesn't work, or we need to change this combination of words or make it shorter, or this actor has taken this piece of text just by accident, they took out a couple of words because they felt it was better another way, and now the line is really great. But that wouldn't have happened unless you brought the actor in at that time. So I personally advocate getting actors in as early as you can, because it's great to have an actor on hand to take a script and to be able to try it out, test it out. Maybe a writer on the team goes, I've got this monologue and I want this actor to read it because he's playing this character, but I'm not sure if the text works. And so you get the actor to record it, and then you go, you know what, this monologue doesn't work at all, we're going to get rid of it. Or maybe they go, great, I don't have to change anything, it's perfect. But that then obviously depends on the situation.
Has it ended? Okay, I'll just take these sweet moves with me. That's not the exit.
But often I'll get thrown in at the end. I worked for a game once. I got the call on a Monday to record on a Tuesday for DLC content that was being released on the following Monday. It's like, you got 6 days, and bless the audio team and their hard work to get that vocal audio in to the game in that short space of time. Like, that unfortunately does happen. It's not great because it's rushed, and if you rush a performance, you get rushed audio.
Well, speaking about the number of takes, obviously at this very moment, you didn't have much time to do this, but usually, how many takes does it take for you to deliver sort of, let's just say, a single line or a single...
Well, I'll give an example. So if I'm doing, let's say I'm playing a character for like an RTS game, and every time the character clicks on the character, they respond. Maybe if you click on them several times, they have different variations of dialogue. Maybe if you say, go to that target, hide over here, retreat, move over there, put a defensive stance, attack stance, neutral stance, or maybe you're using your special ability. All of those lines are going to have quite short variants. And so let's say oftentimes I'll have a list of those lines, and those words are very specific to get to the gameplay mechanics. They're not a cutscene where you're having a traditional kind of dialogue between two characters speaking back and forth. You're having quite specific mechanic-driven lines. If I understand the intent of it and I know what the director's looking for, I can go through. Most actors, myself included, can go through them quite quickly. So I might do about 3 takes a line, unless the director says otherwise. And I'll say to them, I'm going to do 3 takes of each line, 3 different variants. If you want me to change it, just stop me and say, hey, let's do it again. So let's say you're an RTS character. You do a click, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. Now you have to move over there, going now, going now, going now. So it's the same line. I leave a little bit of gap in between so it's easier to cut them in post. Only one of those is going to get picked. Sometimes if you've got a randomization algorithm going on, the game might decide, hey, let's take this line, but variant number 2, just for the sake of variety, because I can change up, give it sort of more of a detailed audio world in that way. But generally about 3 times, particularly on short lines. If it's a longer like piece of text, might do it 3 or 4 times, might change it a bit, or then right at the end I might go, you know what, I've got an idea that only came to me after the 4th time. I'm going to do it a 5th time, and then that's the one they use. Sometimes that happens.
Speaking about Wolfenstein 2,
yeah,
there is a thing that many of German soldiers' lines are actually optional. So if you take slow pace, you can actually be attentive, play carefully, pay attention to all the details, and listen to everything. And there are simply people who just tend to rush things. And how do you feel about that huge chunk of audience does not see?
They won't hear it. Yeah. I think it's best to provide the player with all the options to experience. So I'll play a game and I might go guns blazing and go right through the whole thing. And then I might play the game and I go, you know what, I want to play stealth. Or maybe there's an achievement where I can only use a knife, or like an axe, or in this case, the fireman's hatchet in Wolfenstein 2. I can't use any guns, I can only use my hatchet. And I got to take down the giant robot with a hatchet. Maybe there's an achievement for it, I don't know. But me changing the play style and then having essentially I'm exploring the game in a way that I wouldn't traditionally play it, and I'm rewarded for that by hearing lines and performances that weren't initially available to me because I've made the choice to play it differently. So I think if you provide the player with all of those options, that's great for the player. And the thing is that you're going to have players that don't care about them. You're going to have players that maybe they're deaf. Maybe it's a player who physically doesn't have the ability to hear, and so they have to do everything visually. But I think it's good to have the option available to the player and then reward them with that audio experience by giving them the opportunity to play in a different way. Granted, if you've got your average player who just goes guns blazing, double machine pistols and everything, and they won't ever hear that, that's fine, that's their choice. And I don't go, hang on, you need to play the game again in a way we can hear the audio. That's not my responsibility. But I think giving them the option and allowing them to discover that for themselves is really important. So it's great that Machine Games was able to put in all of these additional pieces of dialogue and conversations, because then you as the player, if you know those happen, you can go around and find them, and you can then go and kill Nazi scum. But you can then experience those little human moments. Like, I love it in the opening level when BJ Blazkowicz is in the wheelchair and you're going really slow, and you can hear little conversations. And one guy's like, "Oh my God, did you hear about Billy the Butcher or something?"
Terror Billy.
Yeah, Terror Billy. "So you hear about Terrabelly? I heard he like killed all these babies." And one guy's like, "I know, right? One of them was mine." He says, "Really? It's true? Yeah, they killed my baby." But you wouldn't have heard that if you just kind of go around and guns blaze. But it's clear. You then around the corner, you kind of peek around and go, "There's two Nazis over there having a conversation, talking about babies."
Also, there's a scene when you just drop into Ausmercer, and there's dialogue between Frau Engel and the Colonel.
Yeah.
That she's telling him off. And for the first time, I just like intervened in the middle of the dialogue. But later in my second playthrough, it was like almost 5 minutes of a monologue.
Really?
It was so good.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the argument that, let's say you provide the audio for a cutscene and the player goes skip. Like, I don't then go, so you didn't hear my great line at the end because you skipped this cutscene. It's no different than that. Obviously, with a cutscene, you have the option of skipping that dialogue. But as you experience and as you said, you found this really dramatic, really interesting piece of text that you listened to for like 5 minutes, and that's only been discovered on a second playthrough. So you get to experience the game again in a way that you didn't experience the first time because there is this dialogue. And I think as the developer, as the voice actor, being able to provide that as a real gift to the player, because I think it's great when games have replayability. I think I'm on like my 6th playthrough on Skyrim, playing as, I think I'm an Argonian berserker or something, and I'm going.
Why do you even have time for this? For 6 playthrough?
Yeah, it's like, I know, I play a lot of games. But having those options for the player to experience is great, because that just really enriches the world before. It's like going back and playing a game you haven't played in a while, and you go, "Hang on, I didn't know there was a loot cave over here." You go, "That's great." And suddenly that game becomes more interesting and the experience is greater because of it.
So, and speaking about the game and other actors' performances, so which one, let's just say, maybe not in 2019, but in general, in the couple of the last years, has impressed you the most?
I love Christopher Judge. I know you said 2019. I love Christopher Judge as...
No, not just in 20.
Not just in 20. So, yeah. Christopher Judge in God of War. I grew up watching Christopher Judge play Teal'c in Stargate. And I think there's a wonderful performance of that. And it's really nice to see him do something that he's just so perfect for, playing Kratos. I think he does a really wonderful job. Other performances, I mean, I love the work of Troy Baker and Nolan North and a lot of the stuff they do. That kind of goes without saying. I'm really a fan of kind of smaller game performances, like the actor who plays Sergeant Johnson in Halo.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
I think has such a. I'm gonna.
Also, I cannot.
Forgive me for at the time I can't remember the actor's name, but the voice actor who plays Sergeant Johnson in the Halo series up till Halo 3, where unfortunately, spoilers, he dies. May he rest in peace. But he comes back in Halo 3 ODST as a skin you can have for your character. I think he does a really wonderful performance. And you could say, oh no, it's quite two-dimensional, but he has such iconic lines that get delivered in such an iconic way. That it's for me, even to this day, I still think of like, how would Sergeant Johnson say this line? What's the line? It says, "All you greenhorns wanted to see Covenant up close. Today's going to be your lucky day." From Halo 1, which is great. He's got another great line in Halo 2, depending on the difficulty, when you get the tank going across New Mombasa Bridge. Like, when I joined the Corps, we didn't have tanks. We had 2 sticks and a rock for a whole platoon, and we had to share the rock. Buck up, boy, because you're going with them. It's just really great. So I'd say Christopher Judge, Troy Baker, Nolan North, they go without saying, and the actor who played Sergeant Johnson in Halo, still to this day one of my favorite performances. So,
and if you could have, let's just say, a role or a small role in a franchise of your dreams that you haven't done yet, what would you pick?
Halo. I'm a huge Halo fan. I've got the Xbox 360 Halo 3 edition. I've got the Master Chief helmet. I've got all of the special editions of all the series, all the statues and all that stuff. I've loved Halo since it came out. If anybody from 343 is listening, I would love nothing more. I don't care if I'm just like a grunt or just a random UNSC soldier, I would be more than happy to fly myself over to Washington to do work for Halo Infinite.
We'll make a small snippet for Twitter and
that would
definitely
be great.
tag them.
I would love nothing more than that. That'd be wonderful. I'd die happy.
So in this case, what were your initial feelings when you saw this figure of Master Chief floating in space in Halo Infinite trailer?
This is UNS.
I wasn't really sure. I think because the design is so, to me, it's still Halo, and I think every title of Halo has undergone a kind of a new breath of life, a new change in design. I think if you keep a game and a character the same throughout, it can get boring. And I think it's nice to, to change things up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But even if it doesn't work, you learn how to make it better. So when I saw Master Chief floating in space, I'm going, what's happened this time? I want to know what's happened in the story. And then it's revealed to us by the pilot character that they've lost a war. They go, what war? You got to tell me. I need to find out what it is. What happened to Cortana? What happened to the Forerunners? What about the Guardians? What about the Composer and the Didac? We know that Didac's dead. And all of these other, and Blue Team, and then Spartan Locke, and all these other characters. I want to know what happened. And I'm loving the look of the slipspace engine that they're using. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where they take the story with it. If it's, from my understanding, they're aiming it to be sort of a game of service, a live service game. And I mean, for myself, I'm a huge Destiny fan. I was going to wear one of my Destiny jerseys today, but it was a little bit hot, so I thought, oh, I'll wear something a bit cooler. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where they take the franchise, because I'm a big fan of it. I know some people have their criticisms with Halo 5, but you know what? I loved Halo 5. I still play it. I think I'm like a level 97 Spartan from playing for so long. And I didn't even realize, like, oh, you're level 97. Wow, great. And I'm sure there are people who are higher than that, but I'm proud that I'm almost hitting 100.
Halo explores different topics of being a hero, being brave, being a part of large community, defending and protecting something. Also, you participated in other games that deal with these things, but we constantly having this thing that our games are not political. So as a person who needs to deliver the emotion to build the atmosphere, what do you usually think of these statements?
As far as a game needing to be political?
Yeah.
To be honest, it's an argument that actually goes back to, has roots in theater and stage, that there are some people who believe that all theater needed to be political. But then I go, stories as simple as The Night Before Christmas, or Baba Black Sheep, or Little Miss Muffet Who Sat on Her Top, any of those little like nursery rhymes. Yes, they're technically stories and they're nursery rhymes, but they're not political. You could probably, this is the thing with a lot of authors and a lot of people who write stories, people can take their political leanings and their political lens and look at the story through the lens of politics. But for me, I perform because I like performing. I like telling stories. I like taking people on an adventure and on a journey that they wouldn't have normally have experienced had I not been able to contribute, had a team of people not been able to contribute. And for me, games is an opportunity and a platform to be able to tell stories to people. If you want to make it political, great. If you don't want to make it political, great. But from the very earliest inception of humanity, sitting around a campfire, talking about the way that they hunted this wildebeest and the drama that they put behind it, like, where's the politics in hunting a wildebeest? You want to provide for your family. Oh, well, how dare you provide for your loved ones? If somebody wants to make a game political, that's their decision. That's not, I don't have an opinion of that either way. I'm there to tell a story. If the story I'm a part of happens to be political, fine. Maybe if it's of a sensitive nature, or maybe if there's something within that political story that I don't agree with or I don't want to be associated with, I might politely say, I'm going to have to exclude myself from this project, this opportunity, if I don't agree with it. That being said, I'm in the business because I like telling stories. I mean, you could look at Wolfenstein 2 as saying, "Oh, you're giving a bad representation of the Nazis," and like I think the Nazis did that themselves. And some people on in various forums on the internet have gone, "Oh, how dare you do that?" And I go, "No, how dare they do that?" So I can appreciate the inclusion of politics in games, but I think anybody can take anything and make it political. I can take this table and make it political. It's like it's a white table, whereas your other tables that are of a different color. See, I've just taken a table. I've taken a piece of furniture and made it political. It's like, oh well, the legs are on legs that are black. Oh well, it was slavery that made America great. It's like, well, no, that's a very provocative statement, and it's not true, and it's silly for anybody to think that. But literally, I just took a table and made it political. You can take anything and make it political.
So it's just totally up to developers.
It's totally up to developers. I'm there to help tell a story.
So, and we do hope that one day we will hear you in the next Halo game.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Halo 6, Halo 7, Halo subtitle. It doesn't
Halo
matter.
42.
Yeah, and so if we can contribute to you appearing there, it would be our pleasure, and as it was my pleasure talking to you here.
Thanks for your time,
so,
man.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ну, а ви, звісно ж, якщо вам сподобалось це відео, не забувайте підтримати його вподобайкою, коментарем, поширенням і, звісно ж, чекайте нових роликів на каналі PlayUA.
Breathe! What am I doing here?
We need to move.
I can't.
Yes, you can.
I can't. I'm looking for the intelligence.
Jessica. There are 30 million people relying on you. In less than 90 minutes, the weapon is going to be activated. I need you to get it together.
Yes, sir.
What have we got?
We've got heavy machine activity, 35 kilometers northeast.
All right.
It's going to be the weapon.
Keep your head down, your eyes up, cover my flank. You got this.